My name is Manalisha, and today's conversation is going to be all about startups. Joining us is Ratan Kumar, the founder and CEO of Encamp Adventures. Encamp Adventures offers fun and sustainable travel experiences across the northeast of India. How should startups go about looking for the right investors or looking for investors in general? What's the process? How do they know who to tap and which are the networks?
I feel, before startups, reach out to the investors, it's important to understand which stage of the startup building process they are in, right? Essentially, as the startup is working on a proof of concept, mostly the startups should look for the grants and the other ecosystem support that is available, right? So always going to the ecosystem support and through them reaching out to investors is much much better a process than to individually start shooting cold emails to the investing community or the investors, because each investors also have a lot of portfolio that they take care of. So most of the time, if it's not going through a certain ecosystem support, it might get lost in in the transfer process, right? So beyond a certain age, at least like 2 years is a very good time by when the company is more formidable, the business model is more tested, it has numbers to back it up in a way that the vision can always be large. The vision should be large and it should be something which should not be very easy to achieve, right? But the business should have undergone certain process which makes the investors community also comfortable to invest, right? When they see the financial cash flow, the projections, everything should kind of tally at a certain point. So I feel that before reaching out to investor, one should do a granular research and try to understand the funding philosophy of each investing house. Each investing house is very, very different and from the other, right? Maybe there are few investors who come in the realm of impact investing. Just a few that comes to mind. Havana Capital, or the ones who are focused upon ESG goals, whereas there might be some other ventures or the investing ventures which are more focused upon the commercial aspect or the scalability potential of a certain technology or a certain business. So understanding an investor's investing philosophy and then fine-tuning it with the startups requirement or what the startup is working upon is very important. So I would say first a granular research of these two things has to be done. One is obviously an external research, the other is more of an internal discussion where we try to understand which investors could add the right value to the startup as well, and which investors would probably take in the would be easy to sort of go forward with in terms of the pitch decks and the presentation, right, and the rounds.
Right. So basically, do your research and know who you are approaching. So that's great advice. Similar to this in the same vein, you mentioned that 2 years is a good enough time. So what are the other metrics by which a founder should estimate whether they are ready to pivot from being bootstrapped to getting funded? When is the right time? How would they sort of gauge that?
While it depends upon product to product, right? It depends upon business to business. But oftentimes, once you start having a sustainable cash flow, right? More important than anything in the initial phases that I feel for a startup is that even the investing community is not really looking at how much or how big a profit you are making, right? But are you staying unit profitable? If scaled up, can the startup reach profitability at a near term? That thought process is always there, right? So even for a startup, I think a healthy cash flow month on month, a consistency or a consistent growth in the cash flow of the company month on month does give a sort of an idea that the idea or the product that we're creating is working. And then to scale it up is when an investor can come in, and even the investor is going to invest because of that, right? So
Yeah.
it's necessary that the processes are in place for a startup, that the processes have been figured out, and then when the investing or the investment comes in, then that investment can start giving the desired ROI, right? I also see that many startups feel that raising an investment equals to success for the product, or success for the business model. It's actually not a right thought process.
Right.
Taking the money too early also means that you have to sell out all the equity that major part of the equity could
Yeah.
go out, and at that point in time, rightly so, because the valuation of the company might not really be so much, because it's still very
Right.
it's just started off, right? So I would say that a startup should start reaching out to the investing community once they are sure about their business potential, and they are backed up with successful numbers in terms of customers, in terms of revenue flow, and that's when they should reach out. The other thing is, if you're innovating something which is capital intensive, and it just cannot come into the market without a certain capital. There are medical devices, there are
Yeah.
in the realm of AR, VR, even the thing that we are working upon. These are very capital intensive, products, right? So maybe for that you might want to, you might need to reach out to the investing community. So preparation again matters out there also. Like you cannot just pitch with an idea only. Some kind of concept or some kind of prototype, right? At least get to the prototype stage and then take it to an investor who can then not only buy the idea, but also have a sneak peek in the prototype, and then connect the dots, right? So
Right.
I think those would be the two most cases of startups funding journey.
Right. It's fair to say that every entrepreneur goes through a certain number of rejections while pitching. So, what can a founder take away from each unsuccessful pitching attempt?
Many a times founders get very possessive, let's call it, about their idea, in the sense that they do not want to take no for an answer, or they find it a little difficult when they are questioned, like when their idea is questioned, or
Right.
put in a little difficult situation, which is done by investors also, to see how clear the the founder or the startup is about what they are doing. So sometimes people, I've seen startups getting, or founders getting a little defensive, and I think that those kind of mistakes can really hamper, not only on the short term but on the long term also. Even the next
Right.
opportunities through word of mouth might kind of not come up. So uh, before, apart from that, the pitch, the whole storyline, right? Many times the storyline is a little here and there, and too much of too much time in the initial phase is going into like the background story of how the startup began. But if for our investors, we got to value their time as well, and if within the first 15 seconds or first 20-30 seconds what we are doing is not clear to them, then we would have probably lost their interest. So the first, for me, I believe that the first 30 seconds to 1 minute is very crucial to get the investor either hooked to the pitch, or lose his attention. So I think valuing the investor's time to sit for the pitch and listening to your ideas is something again which should be practiced. And I think these were the few mistakes. The third thing that I saw a lot of time is, when people are asked about the market size and all, then usually there are like the TAM is like $400 billion, and like as startups, as initially we used to not have an idea how to put that number, right? But 400 billion, if we say it's our at total addressable market, I mean, it obviously, even at the investor level, it feels okay, the person might not really have an idea as to how they've arrived at this number. And many times startups are questioned, how have you arrived at this number, right? So the understanding of how to come up to the calculation, those are the works which sometimes I see my fellow founders also missing out on, in the sense, like the calculation of how to come to the market size, how to arrive at a market size. So those are areas which a startup should be more clear about.
Right. This is super helpful. I'm sure it will benefit a lot of the young founders that are tuning in, a lot of the aspiring founders that are tuning in.